How was the United States of America founded? It is estimated that the first known migrations to the American continent occurred via Siberia between 12 to 16,000 BC. The Clovis culture, which emerged around 11,000 BC, is considered the beginning of indigenous cultures on the continent. In the second millennium BC, Central American cultures reached the southern parts of today's U.S. borders. With European colonialism, which began in the 15th century and went down in world history as geographical discoveries and discovery of America, first the Spanish and Portuguese, then the English, French and Dutch colonists invaded the continent, massacred millions of people, destroyed indigenous cultures and civilizations, and carried all the riches of the continent to their own countries. On the other hand, millions of people brought from Africa through the slave trade were forced to work on the new continent, and many more lost their lives before reaching the continent due to the harsh conditions of travel. The first colonists who arrived in what is today the United States began establishing colonies in the region in 1493. In the mid-18th century, England increased taxes on its American colonies in order to help its struggling economy. And this decision led to the start of the American War of Independence. As a result of the war between the 13 American colonies and England between 1775 and 1783, England accepted defeat and the Declaration of Independence, signed on July 4, 1776, was accepted as the date of the country's independence. The state charters were signed in 1788. The genocide of Native Americans, which began before the emergence of the United States as an independent state, became systematic in the 19th century, and the new state's policy of westward expansion brought new wars and massacres. In the Indian Wars, which continued from the 1810s to the early 20th century, especially west of the Mississippi River, hundreds of thousands of people were massacred without discrimination between men and women, young and old, and their living spaces were seized. In the early 1860s, as a result of disagreements between the states, 11 of the southern states seceded from the United States and declared their independence. The ensuing Civil War lasted 4 years and resulted in the deaths of more than 500,000 people. The USA, which has been increasingly influential at the international level since the beginning of the 20th century, played a critical role in ending the war diplomatically despite not actively participating in World War I. Despite the economic crisis known as the Great Depression in 1929, the USA continued to receive immigration and grow. The USA, which initially remained neutral in World War II and then sided with the Allied forces from 1941 onwards, emerged from the war with great economic gains.